Hey everyone, we're coming at you live from Teams 23. We're right here in front of the
Communiversity
Lounge. There's an actual trivia show happening right behind us, so hopefully you can hear us okay. But this is Rodney.
Hello, I am the Jira Guy.
And I'm Alex. Don't have a full name yet, guy. We're trying to go with Dr. Jira, but I need to figure out how to get that domain still. But yeah, we wanted to talk about session highlights, product announcements, and just overall experience at Teams 23.
Yeah, I'm just going to get the elephant out of the room to start with. Atlassian Intelligence, Atlassian's answer to ChatGPT. We knew it was coming. It was obvious. What are your thoughts on it?
So I'm excited. I'm excited because it's going to help people use Jira better, right? Not so much concerned about I feel like ChatGPT, you still kind of know how to use it. But with this, it feels like it's going to be more user-friendly.
I think the fact that it's where you already are, there's no context switching going on there. It's in the tool already. It's going to be what is going to be the big difference there. Several of those use cases, I wrote an article a few weeks ago on ChatGPT, and I was told at the time by some of the people who knew the details of the keynotes that I had some points that were right on. And so seeing those actually on the screen, like, hey, I literally just wrote about that, was so amazing.
Yeah, my favorite thing about this whole thing is, and I want to not to segue too much, but Atlassian Analytics.
Yes.
They've made a big deal about it. It's coming out. It's so freaking hard to use. So freaking hard.
Yes.
But then they saved themselves. Atlassian Intelligence. You can just tell them what kind of metrics you want. So I think this is going to be a really big game changer, because all of a sudden you're going to have a lot of executives. A lot of the work that I'm doing is I got a lot of CTOs, VPs. Why are we late? What's going on with my data here? How far along are we?
Yeah.
Just type it in and get your data out.
And that's really, when a tool is that simple, especially for people that high up, that makes it prescient. That makes, when you go for budget, that makes that conversation easier, because the people who are approving it know what the benefit is, because they're in the tool too.
Right.
So yeah, that's
my favorite part. I'm liking that more than the other stuff, because they said 5 different things that it can do.
I think the biggest thing, because this is something I've struggled on, and it's a use case I called out almost immediately, is changing the tone. I'm a sysadmin. I'm one of the old school sysadmin. I tend to be a little, let's call it blunt.
Add a little empathy into your responses.
Yeah.
They did talk about that. So that the comment that I had was, this is really intended to be a virtual team member.
Yes.
And it's going to be the person you kind of give the grunt word to.
I mean, we say that, but I don't know if you've had the experience, but I've had junior admins, and that's basically what they do. So if I could give it to a computer rather than a person, my junior admins are that much happier. My team's that much more efficient. I can teach my junior admins to do some more of the advanced stuff, so they move up from being junior admins to seniors and be able to contribute more. I see that as more of a win.
Right. But right in front of us is Icera and their ChatGPT for JSM. Mm-hmm. What happens with these vendors? I feel like in the world of Apple, this happens quite often, where you got an app maker and then all of a sudden Apple introduces a feature. So I think this is one of the first times
It's not. SSO, Resolution's been doing that for about 10 years. Atlassian, about 5 years ago, said we're going to bring SSO into our app. Last year, I forget who it was, but this happened last year. They're always doing stuff where there's something in the marketplace that does something, and then Atlassian goes and brings that into the core app. Now, some of the vendors that do these things, I still prefer, because they're more full-featured. They are able to handle more edge cases that the main solution doesn't. Using the single sign-on example, Resolutions allows you to change the login through regex. So if the login has full emails, but your usernames are just their username, the first part of it, it handles that conversion for you. the built-in solution for Atlassian doesn't do that.
Right. Yeah, that's always been my experience where, especially like with custom trucks for Jira, we have gadgets and reporting built in, but it's lackluster. And that's where you got to come in and add it. So I feel like then they may be able to pivot their marketing material where two people can live in the same world and just do it better than Atlassian if you want to survive.
That's not a terrible thing, though.
What else from the announcements did you buy?
Beacon.
Okay.
Jira instances, by the nature, hold very sensitive data for the companies they operate for. That's just the nature of the beast. We always have to be on guard as Jira admins when we're dealing with this kind of stuff. So having a tool that can go, hey, are you supposed to log in from halfway across the world today? And alert someone on that is a good thing.
Yeah, no, I spoke to Ben, who I believe is the idea behind Beacon.
Yeah.
And I was actually quite surprised because I was like, well, what's the point of Beacon? Because in my mind, I was thinking of like vulnerabilities outside of Jira. But he's like, no, we're talking about what's happening in your Jira. Because I'm sitting through the log files, because every once in a while, I'll get like an event, and I'm like, how did that happen? This week, I had somebody send me a message saying, hey Alex, why did you update so many statuses? I'm like, so I went into the Jira ticket. Sure enough, these statuses were being updated at 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, I was asleep at 2 o'clock in the morning, so it definitely wasn't me. And so I then had to go look through the log files to see what happened. But I think something like Beacon there would really help out, maybe troubleshoot for me. Because it's possible for somebody to impersonate me as an administrator and log in from a different remote location. That's not where I'm at.
Yep. So, I think that's going to be another big use case. Then we got Jira Product Discovery, finally general availability.
Have you used it?
I've used it some, yeah.
I used it at the beginning. Didn't like it. I used it within the last 2 weeks. I love it. What changed?
We can look at two things. Either you changed or the product changed.
I guarantee you the product changed.
What I like to think is Atlassian is taking feedback from the beta, from people, and going, okay, this is how we make the product better, and then doing it.
So the thing that I noticed that changed the most was the connection back to Jira. Very, very early on, you had to link it. You had to create the idea and then take your epic and then just link it. Now it's in the delivery tab. And now you see the whole hierarchy within the product discovery, and that's just beautiful to me. I really like that.
That's brilliant. Fortunately, my day job, we're on data center. We don't get the new tools anymore, unfortunately. But I know my PMs I work with would love product discovery, and I can't wait to be able to put it in front of them at some point down the road.
Yeah. No, I got a lot of, where I'm seeing the biggest use case is in AHA. So AHA is a competitor to product discovery. Everything lives in AHA. You do all your ideas, and you had to push to Jira. And now you have two sources of truth. This way, it's all in the same ecosystem. It's all part of your same bill.
Yep.
I wish Atlassian would make it cheaper, but I think they're going to do like $5.
You're funny, man.
Well, it just, they throw other things like Compass and Atlas at you for free, but product discovery, I feel like work management, I don't actually pay for it. Like
don't pay for it yet.
But if you're Jira software, you kind of inherit work management. So I would have thought, like, if I'm a Jira software, or at least an enterprise user, I should inherit product discovery because I feel like I need it at the beginning of the whole life cycle.
True story.
What else? Whiteboards. I'm excited for that.
Whiteboards. That's another case where there's several apps that do that in the marketplace right now.
Miro.
And it's something that Miro's a big one.
Miro's the biggest one.
AppFire has one that they acquired from Smartsheet when they acquired that company.
Okay.
So there's a solution out there to do it, but the way Atlassian does it, I think it's going to be a game changer just because it is so tightly integrated and so big.
Yeah, I love, my favorite thing that I saw, which is something that I've been wanting to do for like forever, was here are the stickies, let's make those into tickets, and then connect them.
I mean, just going down the way. Here are my tickets. Let's just import them in the board and then have them be context aware.
Right, yeah. that bi-directional, I think that's really key. I'm really glad that they went both ways, because sometimes I feel also though like this feature of whiteboards should be like a Jira thing, kind of like advanced roadmap is.
I mean, yes. The another feature of whiteboards that I think is going to be a game changer is just a linkage, where they took a line from one, put it to the other, and it created the linked issue in the backend Jira instance.
That's actually something I've been trying to work on with my wife to do, but within Jira.
Yeah.
Because
now it's a visual thing.
Yeah. No, it's and they said it on stage. You do all your planning on stage, but it's really, really hard to visualize the macro and the interdependencies of stuff.
Yeah.
Advanced roadmap tries to give you something, they charge you 2 times as much. You can do other plugins, but some of the plugins that I looked at, like Easy Agile and Big Picture, there's a lot happening on the screen. And I feel like Atlassian is doing it right with the way they did it with the whiteboard feature.
Yeah. So those were the big announcements. Of course, they had dozens.
We have one more. Databases.
Databases, yeah.
What do you think about that one?
I know people who are going to love it. I'm not a data scientist.
I like it because that budget example that they displayed on stage, where I can create a table, give a project a budget, and then I can go and start tracking it out or subtracting from that budget based on other pages. Now, if I can connect it with Jira tickets and maybe like original estimate or something, we got something revolutionary here.
That we do.
Or times like if the original estimate of like an idea can be the first item, and then every epic's time spent, then start subtracting from that. Like something, I feel like so many executives will love that.
Yeah. We're getting more and more into a data-rich world. Everything has a data point and context. The fact that Atlassian is working to connect these, I think it's going to be the next big revolution we're going to deal with.
Now, I wanted to talk something that came to mind. Atlassian's Team. It used to be called Atlassian Summit. They renamed it to Team. Their sticker trader is Team. Atlassian's huge on Team. All the features that they announced today, very focused on collaboration and teamwork, right?
Yep.
Atlassian has a vision for how they expect teams to work as a team. I don't see that vision the way everybody else does work. What are your thoughts?
Going back, way back to the history, some of my early admins, Atlassian has always had this attitude of, we know the best way to work our way. We're going to kind of bludgeon you over the head with that a little bit. And it's not a bad way to work, to be clear. But the thing I've loved about Jira, working with Jira, is it's been flexible enough that if that's not the way you work, you can fix that as an admin. You can make those changes. So, yes, you're absolutely right. Atlassian is very heavy-handed with how they see teamwork. But their key and their market advantage has always been their flexibility.
But even with that flexibility, we can't do basic waterfall things. And so many companies operate in a waterfall model. And I just feel like I can't see time and schedule. Schedule and budget are the two biggest factors that drive every company in the world, in my opinion, right? Because if you're over, you got to track how much money you're spending on something, and then you got to know if you're going to be on time or not. And every executive I've ever worked with, they want to know how's their money being spent, and are we getting the features out on time? I can't get Jira to give me that information. I've tried every possible way. Enlighten me, Ronnie. Maybe you know something I don't know.
Well,
putting you on the spot.
You are putting me on the spot here, but I'm the Jira guy. I brought this on myself.
When you take on that title, you got to know everything inside and out, right?
That being said, I think this use case is where, and I know C-level people hate hearing this. I've heard it time and again from C-level people who hate hearing this, but this is where the add-on market is clutch. Because there are tools, you're right, Jira out of the box won't do that. And the hacks you have to do to get Jira to do that, especially on cloud, are untenable.
And or affordable.
And are affordable.
Because you can do some of it if you go to premium, but that's a 2x increase in your bill.
Yeah. So this is where a lot of the add-on vendors make their money, is I'm able to stay on the lower tier, but I'm able to give you extra features that aren't built into Jira that get you that last 10%.
Yeah. But wouldn't it be great, because going back to our whiteboard discussion and going back to our ChatGPT discussion, right? There's other vendors do it, but when it comes homegrown from the vendor themselves, it feels clean and more polished. So I don't know, I just feel like Atlassian spends a lot of energy and effort on trying to get define a way for how to do work, which I'm all aboard for. I love it. I eat it up, right? But they don't deal with the uncertainty and the ambiguity that comes with having asynchronous distributed teams. Which is why there's this push for RTO.
Yeah. I will add this as a final thought to this discussion. I know Atlassian watches these things. I have heard ad nauseum this week how Atlassian read my stuff last year and have responded this year to it.
I see there's like a booth that says the Rodney booth over there.
There is. I mean, it's a funny way to spell Rodney. It reads data center, but it's a Rodney booth.
Migrate to data center.
But it is a Rodney booth. Oh no, I think we're about to get photobombed.
Hello.
Another Atlassian creator back there. But as I said, I know Atlassian listens to these things. I would not be surprised for having to talk about these features next year.
I certainly hope so. So that's one of the things that I enjoyed. Was a few weeks ago I did a post on why it's not worth upgrading to Confluence Premium. Because the functionality that you get from an end user perspective is not quite there. But from an admin, they throw a lot of extra stuff at you. And one of the product marketing managers, she's like, hey, let's talk. I want to know your thoughts. I want to know what's going on. And so many things, she's like, what would make you want to upgrade to Confluence Premium? She's just like, go to the keynote tomorrow. Because you will be pleasantly surprised. Now, I'm really happy that they're not making it a premium-only feature and this stuff's going to be available to everybody. But I definitely do value and appreciate that Atlassian listens.
Yeah. I've been working in this ecosystem a long time, as has Alex. And that's the one thing that's been consistent is, of all the companies out there, they do listen to their customer base. You may have to be a certain size to have a loud enough voice. I was not aware the Jira Guy was that kind of size, but after last year, their response has been incredible. And as I said, I would not be surprised if we're having some of these conversations next year.
So one thing that I've been kind of noodling on since the keynote yesterday was a lot of functionality, a lot of new features, a lot of new ways of interacting with the products. Their documentation, right? Like I feel like a lot of it's very surface level, where they're like, here's how you're gonna be able to do X, Y, and Z. But the use case, the business case, the value that the end user is gonna get, I think that's really where like creators like ourselves can really come in and start going, hey, you're gonna wanna do the whiteboard with your database and this, so that you can get this kind of data out, right?
I have made jokes for years that my entire business model is about writing the documentation that Atlassian will not.
That's a great way to look at it, because I never thought about it like that. Although some person did tell me your YouTube videos are like the videos that Atlassian doesn't have on how to do it, because they have great surface level docs.
But distilling that down to something that a user could take from a blank box, a new box, to a fully functional system, it really takes that extra step that Atlassian doesn't intend to document. And it takes someone like Alex, like myself, like Brittany for Trello, like so many others out there to say, okay, this is how you take that extra step to make it usable.
Right. I'm excited. I'm excited to try some of the features out. I've done an analytics. I didn't care for it, but I'm excited to try it out with the assistant.
Yeah.
Because with that, I think it's gonna be revolutionary. I'm excited to try out the whiteboards, the database. I've already been using product discovery. I kind of fell in love with it. But what's the thing out of everything so far? What do you What made your jaw drop?
Excited or intimidated by that? Okay, good.
The depth to which they went into with Atlassian Intelligence was amazing. I'm going to be able to write at least one, probably 2 articles on that alone.
Okay.
Beacon, having that kind of security focus, because I've always had that kind of security focus as an Atlassian admin. I know what's stored on it.
But you have to worry about it more.
Yeah.
I don't worry about security as much.
But having Atlassian realize this is something admins are concerned about and address it is amazing.
Yeah. I definitely know one of the functionalities that I talk to a lot of people, at least here at the conference, is their data center, they want to come to the cloud, but the cost is so expensive. And I'm hoping that through like Beacon, and maybe they figure it out, but they gotta figure out how not to push everybody to enterprise. Because things like HIPAA, that FedRAMP that they're displaying, right? I have a feeling that's all enterprise level. But Irish people gotta be able to get that stuff.
Got some bad news for you. I've been around since the original server days.
So have I.
When Data Center came out, they started hammering you about the most expensive product, which was Data Center. When Cloud came out and really came into its own, they started hammering you about their most expensive product, which is Data Center, or which is Cloud. Now that they have tiers, they're always going to be hammering you about the most expensive product, which is Enterprise.
Enterprise and Jira Online. Jira Online had a lot of talks here.
Yeah. So this is what Atlassian does. Unfortunately, it's both good and bad. They're definitely getting the money they need to be able to, at scale, invest in all these disparate projects and apps and bring so much value to the community. But money got to come from somewhere.
It's interesting you say that. So 2 things that come to mind. One, I read a report February 2023. Atlassian, by their EBIT, the way the Wall Street measures them, they're not profitable.
Earnings before interest and tax.
Yes, but they're not a profitable company. They have revenues, but their revenues by that EBIT is still low.
But you see, profit is everything that you get after you pay for it. What that means, if their EBIT is low, even though they're getting revenue, is they're reinvesting that money. I'm going back to my business school days here.
Well,
you see what this manga made me do?
I know. Well, the reason I bring it up is because Atlassian's got to make money, right? Like, it's still a business, and they gotta do what they gotta do to survive.
Going back to my business school, most people assume the purpose of business is to make money. The purpose of any business is to be in business tomorrow. There are plenty of companies out there that are not profitable for long stretches. That being said, looking at the, and full disclosure, I am an Atlassian shareholder too. So, just full disclosure there. But looking at the reports, as an investor myself, I'm like, they are making some of the right calls. And I'm able to see both sides of it as a customer, as an investor, and as an influencer. I'm able to see the full picture here, saying they're making so many moves to try and grow the product base, make it more universal, more usable. So they are not profitable, yes, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing today.
But that's kind of where I might disagree then, because they're adding so many new features, but most people don't have time to make Jira work or Confluence work. So all this stuff, like a lot of the presentations that we've been listening to, they are dependent on you knowing how to work the tool to get what you want. And the more functionality, the more stuff you add to it, the more homework you gotta do.
This goes into the big, great problem with the economy, the Atlassian economy, I don't think enough people are talking about. There are not enough Jira admins out there. I know you probably
I'm doing my part. I'm trying to train people.
I know, and that is great. I'm doing my part in that too. But you look out there. I know you probably get them too. Constant emails from recruiters, urgent, immediate opening, hiring today. The world needs more Jira admins, and there's just not enough out there. And I don't see that problem being specifically addressed.
Yeah, we're in the training booth, right? And,
yeah.
Atlassian's documentation there, like, I don't know, I just feel like that's one of the reasons why I started the channel, right? There's a lot of information out there, but what do you need to know? Like, how do you filter through it? Because for us, we've been in it for so long. And we started, I dare I say, when life was simpler.
Oh my God, so much simpler.
Right? So, but now you got a bunch of new people coming into it, and they're like, where do you find the thread? The start of the thread.
Well, if you need a hint where to go to get started with Atlassian Jira, this guy. Take one of his classes. I have not taken them, but I know Alex, we talk on the side. We are constantly communicating together. He is a good teacher. He knows his stuff. He will take care of you.
Appreciate it. Appreciate the shot. But yeah, no, I just feel like we need more admins. The world is shifting to Jira. But I also caution Monday.com, ClickUp, Asana. A lot of companies like it because it's easier to get started. But then Atlassian has team managed projects. So
Team managed projects and me have a love-hate.
Yeah, I'm the exact same way. I will tell you, we're definitely going on a tangent here, but team managed projects, I've hated since day one. I don't like them, I don't manage them, I just tell people to avoid it. Because it's like, you're paying for the full power of Jira, only to be handicapped. But they are introducing JSM team managed projects. So I asked myself, why?
I will say this much. There is a certain what is the word I'm trying to think of? Benefits to empowering your people to say, look, I know you know what you need. I'm going to get out of the way, let you do it. That being said, I wish Team Managed Project had more guardrails that admins could put in place. Because ultimately, Tim from accounting may be in charge of his Team Managed Project, but I'm, as the Jira admin, as the full Atlassian admin, I'm the one responsible for the whole instance. And the fact that a Team Managed Project doesn't necessarily share power, but shifts it, takes it away from me, is really troublesome at times.
Here's my take, right? We're empowering Tim from accounting to do changes, right? Mm-hmm. Tim from accounting is going to go build something cool. Now all of a sudden, Jenny from marketing wants it. And it's like a wildfire. People talk, right? So now everybody's doing these like very custom solutions. And then people want it from, they go to the Jira people and they're like, make this happen. And I just feel like it's great that they give the teams autonomy to kind of go and innovate and go do it. I like what you said, the guardrails, right? It's just like, I just feel like I feel it's counter to the people process part, right? Because when you customize, when you start making these snowflake solutions, your people processes start to fall, right? Because now marketing can't talk to accounting.
I'm not going to argue with you because, as I said, love-hate relationship.
Yeah. That's why I always push companies to go to company managed, because you can standardize, same workflow, same issue types, same
language. I mean,
yes.
I know we're getting close to the end of time here, but this is one of my biggest pet peeves in Jira. If your teams are not talking the same language on the same instance, you're going to have problems.
Yeah.
What does in progress mean? What does done mean?
In development.
Yeah.
Then they're all like similar things, right? Some people have done. Some people have complete. Some people have, when everybody speaks the same language, then we're talking apples and apples. Yes. Otherwise, you got a lot of apples and oranges, which is why I said it's counter to their big mantra of like, we want teams to collaborate, but they all got to speak the same language.
Yep.
All right, well, we'll wrap this session out.
I love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want, and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no, I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing.